So today we're going to be doing some database stuff, moment you've hopefully all been waiting for. And what we're going to be using is a tool called MySQL Workbench. Okay, this is available for both Mac and PC. I've got it installed already. So let's just open it up here. So when you first open it up, you'll see we've got this screen that shows all the connections that you have. So when you first install it, you probably won't have any connections established just yet. Essentially, we're going to be using this tool to map out our databases before we actually create them. So if we weren't using a tool like this, we would be having to create some raw SQL statements just to create a database and to create some tables and so forth. This allows us to do it in a much more user-friendly kind of way. So it's what's known as a GUI. Does anybody know what a GUI is? Boom. Perfect. Yeah. So it makes things really user-friendly for us. So if I want to create a new diagram, and these diagrams are called ERD diagrams. That just stands for Entity Relationship Diagram. Okay. If I want to create a new one of those guys, I can just click over here in the left sidebar. You can see it kind of looks like a diagram. And up here you'll see there are some models. I can just click the plus symbol there to create a brand new one. Okay. So I want to create one of these ERD diagrams. So again, I'm going to just double click on this guy here. All right, now we've got a blank diagram. This is cool. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is think a little bit about what we're designing. This is kind of a key step, right? And it's very easy to sort of start doing stuff before you know what it is you're doing. So we're going to create some different tables. And I think the first one that we'll create is just going to be a persons table where we can store some different people. All right? So you'll see over on the left-hand side here, it's probably kind of small, and unfortunately I can't really make this any bigger, but we can place a new table by clicking this guy here. So if I go like that, just click on that, and then I can drop a table anywhere onto this little canvas that I've got. Okay. Now if I want to rename this table, I'll just double click on it, and we'll call this persons. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is I want to add some fields to this table. So for anyone who's worked in spreadsheets, what do I mean when I say fields? Sure, something like columns, right? That's all. So when we're looking at it in a sort of spreadsheet type of view, we'll see these things in columns. Okay. The first field that I'm going to add is actually not one that's going to house our regular data, so name, email, all that stuff. We want to actually have something called an ID field. Okay. So I'll say that's ID, and then the other thing that we want to do is we want to set this little toggle over here, the AI. You might think, oh, it's artificial intelligence. No, this is auto increment. Okay. So what this ID is going to do is that for the very first person that we insert into our database, they're going to have an ID of 1. Now when I add my next guy, what's his ID? 2. Yeah, so it's just going to auto increment for us. Cool. What else might I want to store about a person? Not a person. Yeah, let's do the name, right?
The first one you want to do an ID.
Yes, we did the ID already. Let's do name. I'm not going to do name like a full name. What I'm going to do is first name and last name. Does anyone have any idea why I might do it that way, as opposed to full name? Yes.
Because, I was going to say, because people have the same name.
Yeah, the reason why is because we really want each field to only store one piece of information. So if I'm storing the entire name and I just wanted to filter by, I don't know, a last name Smith or something, Is that going to be easy to do if I have it as a full name? A little more work, right? So if I just want to find my Smiths, it'll be really easy if I have those two things separated out. So I'll do first name. Okay. What varchar means is that this is some variable number of characters, and in parentheses, when it says 45, that means it can be up to 45 characters in length. Okay. All right. So I'll do the same thing with the last name. We'll say it can be up to 45 characters. That's fine. We probably won't have any really long names in here. What else might we want to store about a person?
Good question.
Sure.
On the ID portion, I noticed that you put the AI, but there's also what looks like a PK and the NN buttons.
Ah, yes.
Type, or like, I understand what
Right. So the PK stands for primary key. Okay, that's actually a really good question. So the primary key means it's some field inside of our table that uniquely identifies this particular record. Okay. And that kind of ties into something that Nick was saying, is that we could have two people that have the exact same name, right? Now, you probably wouldn't have two people who have the same exact email address, or at least you probably shouldn't. But when we have that primary key, it's saying that we can always uniquely identify this particular record using that ID, right? I know that that's going to be unique. I won't have two records that have an ID of one. That should never happen, right? Okay, cool. The NN, can't remember what this stands for, actually. Oh, not null. Not null. So it just means that we can't have our primary key field be null. It can't be empty. It has to have an integer inside of it, right? Okay. Good question. All right, so what else do we want to put inside here? We've got first name, last name. Yeah, I think email is probably a good one, right? We're sort of pretending like this is our user base, I guess you could say. So say email. Okay. Phone, I think, was a good one. So let's just put in phone. I know my phone number, like, let's just assume that we only have people who are in the US, right? So what's the longest phone number? 10, right? And that would be assuming that we have no hyphens stored in there. So that's fine. We'll just say varchar 10.
Does this program, like for instance, if we have the typing in phone, does this program allow us to auto-insert the hyphens? So let's say they type in, it's not going to be longer than 10. So they type in the 3, automatically inserts a hyphen, and then die, 3, dot, and 4.
You probably wouldn't do it at the database level.
Okay.
The type of masking that you're talking about would really be on the front end.
Okay.
Yeah. So as they're filling it in, after they put in the first 3 digits, maybe you put a hyphen in there in the input.
But in this instance,
In this instance, we probably just want to store the actual digits.
the last question.
And then we can kind of format it however we want on the front end. Yeah.
So let's say we, on the front end portion, we wanted to insert those hyphens.
Okay.
Would we have to extend the length of this data type or not?
Depends on if we send it back to the database as just digits, then no, we don't. But if I want to be able to potentially store hyphens,
Then you would increase.
then I could just increase this to 12, right, to accommodate 2 hyphens if we want. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's pretty good. We got first name, last name, email, and phone. Let's also create a couple columns here that are really just going to track whenever a new record is created and when a record is updated. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to say created at here, and then we'll use a date time. So it's going to be a little bit more granular. So a date would just tell us whatever the date was, but I actually want something a little bit more more detailed than that, right? The date including the time, so we can use date time. All right. Now let's also create an updated at field. Same thing. It's just going to be date time. Cool. Now if I close this here, we should see that our table now has all these fields that we've established. Cool. Any questions about our persons table? Quick question. Has this actually been created inside my MySQL installation here? No. Right? Okay. All I'm doing is I'm just modeling some data right now. I haven't done anything with my database at all. All right. Good. So next what we want to do is we want to create a table for driver's licenses. Okay? So I'm going to click this again, and let's drop that over here. I'll double click this so I can rename it, licenses. Okay? Same thing, I'm still going to want to have a primary key inside this table, right? So I'll just put my ID here, and then we'll click on this auto increment. So that's cool. What would we? What kinds of things would we have for a driver's license? State's a good one. Yeah. So let's just do the driver's license number. And what's the number of characters? Is it 9 for the driver's license? No. Does anyone have theirs memorized? It's 8 digits. Okay. Cool. So we'll just say, in this case, we can say car 8 because we know that that number of characters will never vary, right? It'll always be 8. Unless maybe it's different for other states. Does anyone know? I don't know. You got an out-of-state license? All right, so the next field that we're going to have is just going to be a state field, right? And we know that that's just going to be 2 characters. So again, I can say car 2. Okay, cool. Now, we'll also do the created at and updated at for these guys. So date time, updated at, date time. One thing I want to point out about this, actually after I finish with this table here, is that you also have some defaults that you can start with over here. You can create your own. Hey, Leah. So if I have something that I'm always including in my tables, like for instance a primary key and a created at and updated at, I can create a little template for myself over here, this timestamps template. And I could just create a new table based on that template. Okay, so it kind of takes some of the grunt work out of this for us. All right. Any questions about our licenses table? No? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to connect these 2 tables. So I've got my persons table and my licenses table. We're going to assume here that a person can only have 1 license. Now I know that's not necessarily true, but let's just pretend you can only have 1 driver's license, right? So to create a relationship between these 2 tables, I'm going to click on this up here. You see where it says 1:1? So this is establishing what's called a 1-to-1 relationship. Okay? So if we were to say that out loud, just to kind of make sense of it, we would say something like, a person has 1 license. 1 license has a person. So that relationship goes both ways. It's not like we could have 1 license belonging to multiple people. So I'm going to click this 1-to-1. And then, depending on which table you start with, we're going to end up with what's called a foreign key. Okay? So if I click on persons first and click on licenses next, you'll see that my persons table has this licenses ID. Okay? So this is a foreign key, and it's actually referencing a record inside of our licenses table. So we've created this 1-to-1 relationship. Now, if I wanted it to go the other way in the sense that my foreign key was inside my licenses table, I can do it that way as well. So let me just undo that. And I'll go back to the 1-to-1, click on licenses, and then go to persons. Now you see I'm storing this foreign key inside of my licenses table. Okay. Yes, Griffin.
Random question, but to think about it this way, when you click on one of them first, so since you're clicking on licenses and then clicking on persons, my kind of thinking, would it technically make licenses a parent and person the child? That is it like this sort of relationship?
I would really think that the persons is the parent in this sense, because if I'm putting my foreign key in the licenses table,
So it's the second
the
one.
licenses is kind of like now referencing this, right? It's not
Okay,
referencing
so it's the one
persons.
that it's working off of.
Yeah. So one thing that you guys will probably want to change inside these guys is that where it says person's ID, is that going to be multiple people? Or are we just going to store one person's ID inside each record?
One.
Only one, right? So you probably want to change that to singular tense. It'll do it in plural automatically, but if I just double click on the table and go down here, I can just change this. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. I can just change this to person ID. Okay? And that makes a little bit more sense because now we're sort of referencing a single person inside of our person's table, right? Okay. All right, cool. So let's kind of model this in a different way as well so you guys can see it elsewhere. So if I go to Google Drive, actually, can I just go to sheets.google.com? Like, allow me to create a sheet. Okay, so new spreadsheet attendance. Not attendance. Okay, so I'm just going to create a spreadsheet where we can kind of lay out how our tables are looking, right? So right now, we've got this, we'll say this is our persons table. Oops. Okay, and inside the persons table, which columns do we have? We had ID, first name, last name, email, and phone, right? Okay. I'm going to assume we're just going to leave off the created at and updated at. Just know that those things are there just to keep track of when we're putting things in and updating things. All right. Let's create a couple people, right? So I've got an ID here of 1. Drew's right in front of me, right? So let's say Drew Flores D at f.com 111 222 3333. All right. So I've got a record inside my persons table, assuming that we've sort of set up this whole database. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to have my licenses table, right? Okay, and in the licenses table, we had our ID field. We also had the number field, and then the other one was the state, right? Okay, cool. So let's say that, actually I forgot something. We now have a foreign key, right? And what's that foreign key called? Person underscore ID. Okay, cool. Question?
No, I'm just saying I kind of understand the relationship on why you would click on the license before the person, because when you're storing that person's ID or that person ID in there, that gives it the unique ID that it first gave the person when you created it. So would that would allow you to at least connect the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that one next to Drew would be essentially be inserted into the person ID under the license one, so you can reference each chart.
Sure, yeah. So let's say that we want to enter in Drew's license, right? Drew's license is going to have its own ID, and that's its primary key. This is the thing that uniquely identifies Drew's license. Okay. So it's going to need some number, and I'm just going to say B9999999. Is that the right number of digits? 8. Okay, cool. State, California. Okay, and then what am I going to put inside this person ID field here? from Drew, which in this case is 1, right? He was my very first person. All right, so we'll go like that. Let's insert another person inside here. I got Cole, Ryan, C at b.com. Your phone number is exactly the same. Okay. Our database doesn't care though, because again, what's uniquely identifying Cole? The primary key, yeah, which is his ID. Okay, cool. We'll say we've got this new license in here, and the number is going to be B888. Okay, a bunch of 8s. What am I going to put inside the person ID? 2. So now this lines up with Cole. Okay. All right, pretty straightforward. So that is a one-to-one relationship. Any questions about one-to-one? Yeah.
So if you started adding people in the persons, but then you didn't have them in the same order of licenses, then the person ID would identify them based on where they are.
Correct, yeah. Or also another type of situation that could arise is, what if at some point I decide to remove somebody from my database? I could end up having gaps in my IDs, right? Or maybe maybe here's another situation. Maybe I add some people to my database who actually don't have licenses. Then that would still be fine. Those numbers wouldn't necessarily be the same anymore. I wouldn't necessarily have a person with an ID of 2, or I'm sorry, a person with an ID of 2 and also a license of ID 2. Okay. But I can still connect the two things together using that person ID field. Good. All right, excellent. So let's say we want to add another kind of relationship. So this was our one-to-one. We also want each person to belong to a specific dojo. Okay? So you guys all belong to the Burbank dojo, and obviously there are lots of other students that belong to the other ones. So let's create a dojos table. Put that, I'll put that down here. Dojos, okay. Actually, hold on one second. Let me show you creating one of those default tables. So if I delete this guy, I can click on my timestamps table over here, and then just click that one with the lightning, I guess it is. What the heck is, oh, yeah, whatever, impact. Click that, and then it'll create the table for you. I can change the name of this, though. I don't want it to be called timestamps. I just want it to be called dojos. Okay? And then inside there, what do we want to have for a dojo? Yeah, location, city, that's fine. All right, so let's just call it the name. Okay. Maybe we also want to have the city and state as separate fields. We could do that. So we could say the city's right here. State is here. And I'll just make that a char2 field because I know the state is always going to have 2 digits, right? Cool. Let me close that here. I've got my dojos over here. Cool. So let's talk about how this relationship works between dojos and persons. So each person is going to have one dojo. How does that relationship work in the opposite direction? Each dojo is going to have many people, right? So this is what's called a one-to-many relationship. You've got one dojo, many persons. And the way that we can model that here is, instead of doing the 1:1 like we were doing, we can go to this 1:n, which means a one-to-many relationship. So I'll click on that. And actually, before we even establish this relationship, I'm going to tell you a quick story that hopefully will kind of clarify like how this whole one-to-many thing works. It's not my story. It's previously spoken. So in the way the story goes is that when he was younger, he his mom used to always buy him lots of sweaters, right? Problem was, he had a hard time keeping track of those sweaters. So he'd come home from school and, hey, Eduardo, where's your sweater? Oh, sorry, lost it, right? He was trying to keep track of many sweaters, but it was too much for one person to keep track of. So if we kind of relate this back to our database, how many things do we want each field to keep track of? Each field should be very specialized in the sense that it's only tracking one thing. Now, if I'm trying to keep track of a bunch of sweaters on a person, is a field going to do a good job at doing that for me? Remember, it's more than one sweater, right? Too many sweaters for one person to handle. So instead, what his mom started doing is she started writing his name on the tag of the sweaters. Okay? So what that does is it establishes a connection between the sweaters and the person, right? And that's essentially what a foreign key is in terms of a many-to-many, or I'm sorry, a one-to-many relationship. So you put the foreign key in the many table, okay? In the same sense that she would write his name in the tag of the sweater. So when I want to establish this relationship, I'm going to click on the many table first, which is what? Persons. And then I'm going to click on dojos second. Okay? So now we've got this foreign key that we're expecting, which is the dojos underscore ID. Now I'm just going to change that to singular because each person only has one dojo, right? Okay, so let's go down here. We'll just say, whoops, ending up on the wrong thing. Cool. There we go. So now we have this relationship. So, for instance, if I wanted to go grab all of the ninjas or the persons that belong to a specific dojo, it's probably not going to be too difficult, right? Because now each person is going to have a dojo ID attached to him. Okay? So if I know that the dojo that I'm looking for has an ID of 3 and I'm trying to get all of the persons that are associated with that, all I have to do is find all the persons that have a dojo ID of 3. Okay? And we'll talk about how to do that tomorrow when we actually get into the queries themselves. But for now, that's just how the relationship is going to work. So here, if we go back to our spreadsheet, I'm going to create a new table down here, and this will just be our dojos, right? We got our ID, we've got our name, city, state, okay? Now my persons table has an additional field, right? So I need to move this stuff over. Copy, cut that, and paste it. Okay? And I've got a dojo ID field. Okay? Let's enter in our dojo so that we have it on record. ID of 1, we'll say Burbank. Actually, they call it the Los Angeles dojo because people outside of California, nobody knows what Burbank is. Right? All right, so city is Burbank, state is California. Okay, there are some other dojos too up north. So we've got San Jose, and then the Oakland one, which I think maybe actually is in Berkeley. Okay, so now we've got these 3 dojos, IDs of 1, 2, and 3, and now I want to connect these persons that I already have inside my database to a dojo, right? So for Drew and Cole, what am I going to put inside their dojo IDs? 1. So that is actually connecting them to the Burbank dojo, right? I'm saying they sort of belong to this particular dojo. All right? Let's add in another person who doesn't belong to this dojo. So I'm going to say 3. I've got Neil Mosunich, n@m.com, I'm just going to copy down this phone number. And he belongs to the Orange County dojo. I forgot to put that in. All right, so Orange County. I don't know what city it's in. Maybe Anaheim. Could be wrong about that. All right, so what should his dojo ID be? He belongs to the OC 4. Cool, and then I'll add another person here, an instructor from Northern California, Edward M. E@i.com. Okay, so he belongs to the Oakland dojo. So what ID do I want to put him in for? 3. Okay, cool. So now we've established this sort of one-to-many relationship, right? I've got each dojo can have many persons associated with it. Questions about that? You guys can kind of see that there's this little fork prong thing over here, just showing that we have many persons that are connected to one dojo. All right. Does anybody know what the other type of relationship we can have? So we did one-to-one, we did one-to-many, many-to-many. Ooh, all right, this one's going to be interesting. So let's say I had some products in my database. Okay, let's say that we're selling some stuff. So let's just create a products table for now. Let me use my timestamps because it's easier. And I'll oops. Happened. Okay, let's bring that down here, and then let's change some things inside here. So I want this to be my products table. Okay, right now I've got my created at and updated at. I'm also going to want to have like a name for my product, right? Probably be pretty good. Okay, we'll just leave that as is. And then what else do we want to have for product? Price. Yeah, we'll leave off the description, but that would be a good thing to have. So let's do price. Let's see, what kind of data type do I want here? Float. Okay. So a float would allow me to insert a decimal into my price, which would be nice. You'll probably want some cents on that. And that's probably good. Let's leave that at that. So we've got this. I'll add it to my spreadsheet as well. So we'll just say products. Okay. We have an ID. We have our name, and we have a price. Okay. And if I go back to this here, the type of relationship that I'm trying to establish is this one. I want to say a person can have a bunch of favorite products, or products that they're interested in. Right? That relationship also goes the other way, because each product can have many people that are interested in it, right? Okay? So this is the type of situation where we get into this many-to-many situation. How do you think I can do that in terms of these tables? Am I going to be able to store, say, a bunch of favorite products in one person's record? How about in the products? Can I store a bunch of people who are interested in one particular product's record? No, right? So what we're going to find is that we actually have to create what's called a middle table that sits in the middle of these two and sets out these relationships. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to click on this little n:(m) thing, and that's saying a many-to-many. And then in this case, it really doesn't matter, well, in terms of the way the table is going to be named inside MySQL Workbench, it will make a difference which one you click on first. But it's a many-to-many, so that relationship goes both ways anyway. So if I click on persons and products, you'll see it's created this little middle table for me. And I'm going to try to move some things around so this looks a little bit better. So just move this over here and then bring this up inside here. Okay? So persons has products, right? It's saying this is where I can establish these connections between a single person and a single product. Okay, so if I come back here to our little spreadsheet here, now I need to create a new table, and this was persons has products. Okay, what are the two fields that I need inside that? So I need a person ID, right? And then a product ID. Okay, now probably those things got pluralized here, so I can change those real easily. Person ID and product ID. Okay. So let's create some products. What do you guys want to put in there? Favorite products?
Whiteboard.
That's a good one. I like that. Nintendo Switch. How much is the Switch? 300? Okay. Hey, we're the new Amazon, right? We carry everything. Whiteboard marker. All right, we'll say the whiteboard marker is $1. What else do we want? A new power strip. Oh, Hydro Flask. That's a good one. Those are expensive, right?
It depends on the size.
It's like $20 to $40, something like that.
Like this one? Yeah, like the 32-ounce one can get anywhere from like $30 if you get it off a rip-off site to like $60. So let's just call it 40. Let's just call it 40.
40. All right, fair enough. Wow, those things, yeah. All right. Too rich for my blood. What else do we want there? Maybe one other thing. How about
Gummy bears, yeah.
gummy bears? Cool.
Any store you walk into on the way out, they always have that wrap candy. Just like, buy it on impulse.
Yeah, there you go. So gummy bears, what do those go for? Like $1?
$1.99.
Oh, $1.99. Okay, fair enough.
He's the authority.
Griffin knows what's up. He's bought his share of gummy bears. All right, so now what we're going to do is we want to establish some connections here between some of our people and some of our products, right? So let's pick out Drew. Drew, so we know Drew's ID is 1 here, right? What products do you like from this list? You probably like the Switch, right? And the Hydro Flask. Okay, cool. So I'm saying here, this is going to be an ID of 3, right? So in other words, each thing that he's interested in is going to occupy 1 row in our table. Okay. Now let's go down the line. So Cole has an ID of 2. Which of these products are you interested in, Cole? Just that one. Okay, fair enough. He's serious about his whiteboarding. I appreciate that. All right, cool. So we've established one connection here. And let's say that Neil, who has an ID, let's say he likes all of these, right? He really is a fan of our store. So we can just drop in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just drag this down. Cool. Same thing with Edward. He's a fan of our store, so he wants to buy everything. And I'll just grab this, paste it in there. Okay? So this is going to make it really easy for us to do certain types of queries in our table. So if I wanted to find everyone who, say, liked the Nintendo Switch, what would I be looking for?
You would be looking for the ID of 1.
Yeah, so I would be looking for the persons who are inside this persons has products table who like a product ID of 1, right? And that should pull out almost everyone except for Cole. Cole doesn't like the Switch. He's not so much into it. Or maybe you are. What kind of video games do you like?
Honestly, my favorite game is probably The Sims.
Alright,
Yeah.
alright. No problem there. I'm not hating it. Alright.
Did your sim go to
Did your sim go to a boot camp? It's a fun sim. Alright. Alright, so what we've done today is we were essentially just modeling our data and sort of doing some pretend stuff here, like what's going to happen once we actually start putting people in the database, right? Okay. Tomorrow we'll actually do some queries where we put some people in the database and then we also go and fetch some information as well. Okay. Any questions about the many-to-many situation here? No? Okay. All right, very well. Let me stop the video. We'll take a